Okay.
Yeah, we're ready. Hey, welcome back to Bear Cave Homestead.
Welcome back.
All right, we have been sharing updates about this on Facebook, but nothing on YouTube yet. We have a well.
Yes, we have a well. We have a well with hot water, and we have a well that went way over budget. But we have a well, so guess we can't complain too much.
But we will kind of walk you through the well drilling process and the challenges that happened along the way.
There were several of them.
So, first part of the process is getting bids. There's several companies. They all came in really close to each other on price.
No, two of them came in really close.
Okay.
All the other ones were way higher.
That's true.
So we weeded those out 2 years ago when we moved out here.
Yeah. Of the two, it came down to who we were able to communicate with. The one, they both have good reputations, but the one owner was working out of cell service, and we couldn't get a hold of him. And we went to the office, and his office staff weren't there, so we decided to go a different route, and we went with company B and gave them their down payment so they could get us on the schedule, and waited and waited and waited for them to finally show up.
First it was 2 weeks, and then it was going to be a month, and then it was going to be 2 weeks later, and then finally
One day
they
just
showed up.
appeared. Yeah. No, that's not really their fault. They're not being flaky. Things happen. They expected this to be a 1 or 2 day job. It turned into an entire week, 7 days that their equipment was up here.
7 business days. Their equipment was up here for 9 days.
Yeah. So that put the next guy off. So, I mean, it happens. They can't predict what's going to happen. So, no fault of theirs. But they pull up and they park this big giant truck right here. And they drill a hole.
Well, it was more like right here.
Yeah.
that they parked it.
Yeah. So this is the wellhead. Now they were expecting 300 feet roughly for this well.
Due to the average depth of other wells around us.
Yep. Fun fact, this is not 300 feet. This is not 400 feet. In fact, their third day of drilling, they ran out of drill pipe. And they're like, yeah, we only brought 400 feet with this. And we were like, whoa, you're at 400 feet? We had no idea. So, had to come back on a different day with even more pipe. And the depth of that well is actually 460 feet.
Yes.
At the rate that we were quoted at the time, and I think it's gone up since then,
Was $52 a foot.
$52 a foot. And they went 160 feet farther than expected. Now, I'm glad we went with who we did because they are very, very professional. They know what they're doing. They've been around a long, long time. So their quality of work is good, and we know that they did it right. So that's good.
Yes.
So,
Also, we have hot water, so they have experience drilling hot water,
yes.
and they have experience drilling or putting pumps into hot water and stuff. So I think that our decision was very well. However, it feels like a little bit of a curse ever since we started this well.
Yep. And we'll get into more of that.
We're appreciating
As we
it
go along.
in our own ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Which will show that as well.
So 460 feet, and it's hot water. It's coming out at 115 degrees.
It's natural hot water.
Yep.
It's like a hot springs that we decided to tap into.
Now, the owner of this drilling company, he's been drilling in this region since like the 70s. And he's never hit hot water in this area. There's plenty of areas out that way. In fact, they've purposely drilled hot water wells to use for geothermal heat in a couple of schools and some of the commercial buildings and stuff that they've done. So, like she said, they are very familiar with what it takes. Now, that does bring us up to a big challenge. We had already planned out a solar-powered well pump. Turnkey kit comes with panels and controllers and everything. And then we found out our water was hot. So guess what? That pump won't work.
It might work, but the company has never tested it at the water temperature that we have, so they won't guarantee it, and that's a pretty high amount of money to put into something that's not necessarily guaranteed. So.
Yeah, to the labor alone to have someone come and like pull a pump out and put a new one in is like $1,200 to $1,500
Yeah.
just for the labor. So we don't want a guess on that. That's a big deal. And it's not really something we can do by ourselves. So we ended up having to have them go ahead and put their pump in. What they do is pretty genius. The size of pump you need, it depends on how far your water is and all that stuff. Our water came up. In fact, our static water level is only 85 feet. So there's so much water down there, it's able to come pretty far up this pipe. I think the pump is sitting at like 260.
No, it's sitting at 160.
Oh, 160. Yeah, so it's at 160. We've got tons of water flow. So we're actually good. We only needed a 1/2 horsepower pump. Now, that could have been 110 volt, which meant we could have used any generator to pump it. But with the hot water, that's not going to work. What they had to do is go to a 220 and actually put a 1-horse motor on it. It uses the same power amperage-wise because it's not drawing that far up, but because it's built for higher amperage, it is also built for higher heat, so that motor sitting down in that hot water is not going to overheat and burn out. So that's how they work with the hot water. So it did mean we have to have 220.
Which means a more expensive generator.
Right.
Which also means if we ever want to go to solar, which we have now decided we're just going to do a hand pump because the cost of going to solar would be probably just as much as another pump.
Yeah, that's going to be ridiculous. So that's what we have here. We have the wellhead. We have a generator that does 220, and we just kick on that generator. Feeds to this spigot. That one is there because when they installed the pump, they left a short piece of pipe on there, so we could fire this up and purge out the well. We need to let it run for a couple hours. So we saved money on pipe by just putting our spigot there instead of over there.
We also saved money on the spigot because, fun fact, our area only had 3-foot spigots, or 6 feet.
Yeah, we really wanted a 4-foot, and that's why this is so low. A 4-footer would have been sitting here.
Which would be more comfortable for him. It's not a problem for us because we're shorter, but he's got to bend down.
Since we didn't want to wait an entire month for one to show up, we just got a 3-footer and have it closer to the ground. It's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. Now, ultimately, here's what we're going to be doing.
We could just dig a hole right there, so you just got to step down into the hole, and then you don't have to bend over.
And that is a frost-free. If you don't know what those are, look them up. Every time you turn it off, the water drains out the bottom into some gravel that's underground there, so your pipe doesn't freeze. The original plan was to run pipe all the way over to this tank so that we could turn on the generator and fill the tank.
This is a 500-gallon tank that we got from a livestock fencing supply place.
Yeah. And then we'll have a 12-volt pump coming off of that tank to another spigot. That's actually what's going to give us our water 4 places. That, being hot water, is just going to be used to fill the tank. So it can sit there and cool off.
That's not the
before we
only
use it.
reason that
Hold on, I know.
Mama.
So it was going to be all teed in. Again, we saved money. We'll just use the hose to fill that up, and that's fine. So we are going to bury
A culvert.
a culvert
Over
here.
by the backhoe.
Yeah,
You need to show the culvert? We'll probably.
show it at some point.
Yeah.
So the pipe will come into that, we'll have the pump, battery, all that for the solar system, so that we'll be able to pump water at night whenever we need it. And that's what we'll use again for the house, the animals, everything else. And our other reason, though, that we have this, since we have nice hot water.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
In general, this tank will last us about a week. No,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
The
Yeah.
way we had been using water.
Yeah, about 2 weeks with like that's watering the animals as much as they need, and us kind of being a little bit frivolous with it or whatever. I guess a little bit more frivolous with it. So if we fill that up, that gives us 2 weeks in between fillings or whatever. So if there's a problem, we'll have 2 weeks of water on our property.
Yep. You always want a backup of a backup of a backup.
Which is why we're looking at a hamper.
Yep. Now, come check this out. This is our hot tub. It's our hillbilly hot tub.
We have to get closer so we can show them the
Yep.
nice water that we have.
That color of water is because we have high iron. Yeah, fun fact, all of our water is that color.
Not when it comes out though, just when it hits the air.
Yes. Yeah, so we learned a lot about iron in your water. It comes out perfectly clear out of the hose, and then all of a sudden it's turning orange and you're like, what the hell? That is the iron oxidizing. It's hitting air and turning to rust. There's 3 different types of iron that you could have in your water.
Oh, it's all whopper nasty.
Yeah, it is. Luckily for us, we have ferric iron, which is the easiest to filter out.
Luckily.
We're looking at a couple of filters. We're actually just going to set one up that we can plug our hose into it, hose on the other side, and it should filter at least the majority of this out before it even gets into our tank. And then we'll look at a secondary filter if need be after that. This is kind of cool. We're letting this drain, create a little stream. Eventually we're going to do a little homestead landscaping thing here with rocks. So our drain from our tub will be through a little stream. But that's down the road. So yeah, high iron. We also have high alkaline. Big one to test for is arsenic. We're totally good. We're well below federal
With
standards.
hot water.
Yeah, with hot water.
I mean, maybe regular water too, but we were specifically told with our hot water that we would want to get it tested for.
Arsenic is really hard to filter out, and you can't see it or smell it or taste it.
There's no color, no taste.
Yeah.
No,
With iron, it tastes like metal. Like we know it's there.
it's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing with our $30,000 well. It's gross.
Yeah,
It smells weird and it's gross.
it is. But the hot tub's awesome. That's been really nice. We set out at night. The filter should take care of it. It's just sediment filters actually work for the iron. The challenge is finding one that is also good for hot water, because most of them aren't.
Yeah. I think our biggest struggle has just been the temperature of the water. I think
Yes.
everything else would be fine and actually easy to handle. It's the hot water that has created the problem with like the pump, with trying to find a filter, with, I mean, honestly, even holding tanks and stuff, like
Yeah.
just basic stuff like that. It all has made it difficult to find those things.
It has. It really has.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge that most people don't get to face. It means we get to get really creative. We even thought about opening up our own hot springs on the other side of the property, and we can do that. But no one's going to pay to come soak in orange water, so we've got to have a really good filtration system if we're going to do that.
Yeah, that's gonna be like a $1,200 filtration system.
Yeah,
Not an $80 spin down filter.
right. So, lots of interesting things, but what we're going to end up with, and we're pretty close,
Oh nope, I'm not gonna say that on the video.
okay, is we have water, we have used it, we've even filled our trailers. Somehow they turned orange and then we purged them all out and then they weren't, so I don't know what happened there.
Hold on, your guys' trailer.
Ours, yeah, yours has a little bit.
Yeah,
but
we haven't tried to purge yours yet.
Even the animals where we filled up the barrels, yes, it was orange, but that rust does settle down. So most
During
of
my
it's out.
shower, it wasn't orange at all.
Oh, see?
I don't know. We gotta figure something out.
Yeah. So the hot water has been our biggest frustration. Struggle. Yeah.
We can clean vehicles with it.
Yep.
It's not waste water anymore.
Yes. She just cleaned her truck today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that is though for the first time in 2 years, over 2 years. It's the very first time we didn't have to leave this property with containers to get water and bring back up here, which is nice. And this is only we haven't even had this pump in for a week yet.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think last Friday was the first day that we pulled the trailers up and then spent all day. Oh, because we have such great water pressure that we blew a hose apart.
Yeah. Oh, we've got amazing water pressure coming right out of that well pump.
Yeah, cleaning a truck's pretty easy.
It's like a pressure washer. In fact, we had to get a regulator so we can hook up to the trailers or blow those pipes, which isn't bad. They're like $15, 18, something like
Well, it
that.
depends on where you get it from.
Yeah. So that's not bad, but yeah, it's been a huge undertaking. It's the middle of September. It's the 15th. It's right in the middle of September. And we started this process in June.
Yeah. Like June 19th, we put the money down.
Yeah, that's when we put the deposit. So actually, end of May, I think, is when we started getting the quotes. Or middle of May even.
June 19th or June 26th was when we put the deposit.
Right.
Yeah, it was the middle of May that we started getting quotes. We compared the two. The one that we wanted to go with just had a bunch of stuff that kind of came up and
Staffing issues.
yeah, stopped the communication, and so we went somewhere that we could actually get our questions answered and felt good with it and put the money down and then waited for almost 2 months, I think.
For them to show
I
up.
don't remember what day it was that they showed up. It was like the last Tuesday in August. No, it wasn't.
In any case.
It was like the third Tuesday in August that they showed up.
Yeah.
And it took them a week and then another 2 weeks to come out and get the pump put in.
Yeah. Which is because they had to piece together a different pump with a different motor, so.
And because of all the shipping problems.
Shipping
the wires
problems.
didn't show up and
Yep, they had the wire that they run down this, they ordered well ahead of time, like 3 months earlier than what they normally would. And they actually ran out, so they kind of had a backlog of pumps to put in, waiting on wire. So, yeah, it's been an interesting adventure. And this is, most of our summer has gone to crap like this, where we're just dealing with something kind of big.
yeah.
But we do have water on our property. It's drinkable. The iron actually will not affect your health. It just looks and tastes and smells gross.
So it affects your health that way.
Yeah, you're gonna drink less water probably, but I mean bottled water's a thing. I'd prefer not to, but we can
Yeah.
until we get the filtration set up. Probably, I'd say within another couple weeks we'll have everything done. I'm gonna have to get the backhoe and dig some more so we can get that culvert in. We weren't going to do that, and then now decided we will because it's gonna be better for the pump and the battery and
But it's
stuff.
gonna be
Yep, it will serve.
both yelling.
The goats yelling and the dogs came out working.
Cover it something.
Yeah, the culvert will be basically the pump house and a root cellar. So we'll have some food storage area in there as well for some of the long-term stuff. So that'll be interesting. But we're also years ahead of schedule because we thought we were going to do a root cellar someday in the future.
Ew.
And we thought we would do a well maybe someday. Oh yeah,
The
here.
iron, do you see it? That's all the iron that's settled to the bottom. It does look kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah, it looks gross.
All right. I think.
Oh, it looks like a loofah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add, love?
Get out of the way so you're not soaked.
Okay. Let me do that. And
Oh my
there goes our
gosh.
water. That was last night's water. We're
It got a little freaky last night, so we abandoned ship and went inside.
yeah, we were out here in this, and it was awesome, great. And we had an owl flying around, like it flew like right here, and it was like buzzing our heads.
I'm gonna rinse that out real quick.
So we got a little freaked out.
Record that, love.
We need to rinse out Coda's bed.
Starting it up. And
Yeah, let's do that. Here's the well starting up. This is how it works. Super easy. Now that's with the smaller hose. When we hook up the bigger hoses, it comes out way even more. It only takes like what, 4 or 5 minutes to fill that tub.
that's love.
So you can see that water comes out nice and clear. But it'll turn orange. Not coming out of the hose, but in a container, it'll be orange. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Check us out on Facebook, because that's where we do our normal updates. And we'll see you next time.